Well, good afternoon and welcome to a 13 News Now special report. I am Connor Reel and we come to you live this afternoon as we await a press conference in Virginia Beach that will feature, among others, Mayor Bobby Dyer and Police Chief Paul Neudigate. This press conference taking place in the wake of a shooting at the Oceanfront over this weekend in which 8 people were shot. That press conference has actually just begun. We're going to go live to Virginia Beach right now.
A formal update regarding the tragic events that occurred this past Saturday, April 11th at the Oceanfront. Our hearts remain with the victims and their families as they navigate this difficult time. Before we hear from our leadership, I would like to recognize the members of the Virginia Beach City Council who are present with us today to show their unified support for our community. As I call your name, please raise your hand. Mayor Robert M. Bobby Dyer, Vice Mayor Rosemary Wilson, Councilmember Michael Berlucci, District 3, Councilmember Dr. Amelia Ross Hammond, District 4, Councilmember Worth Remick, District 6, Councilmember Cal Cash Jackson Green, District 7, Councilmember Stacy Cummings Jr., District 8, and Councilmember Josh Schulman, District 9. I also want to thank our City Manager, Patrick Duhaney, for being present in his show of support. Thank you so much. I additionally want to thank those who are standing behind you, who are dignitaries, also city officials and members of service here with the City of Virginia Beach. I thank you for being present as a sign of support. I would now like to introduce Mayor Robert M. Bobby Dyer. Mayor Dyer will share his thoughts on behalf of City Council regarding our city's path forward and our unwavering commitment to public safety at the Oceanfront.
Thank you, everyone, for being here today. This is a serious conversation that is going to take place, and yes, we are in search of solutions. We live in a world, a nation, a commonwealth on fire. We live in a world where anger, hatred, violence, a callous disregard of life, and a disregard of laws has become the new norm in our country. We are a nation with multiple ills, many of which we do not have a cure for, but we have to find one for this situation. Back in the day, after my tenure in the Marine Corps, I became a physical therapist. I had the opportunity to work with thousands of people with multiple ailments. I met people at the worst time of their life. They had a stroke, they were in a car wreck, and regrettably also gunshot wounds, and people that were victims of violence. And there's always a common thread that we came to a conclusion to help people, that help the community. And that was, be honest, what is the problem? And I'm afraid in a lot of areas, people are afraid to talk about what the real problems are. But we have to do that. We have to do that as a community. And then we would ask the patient, what caused the problem? We got to be honest about that too, because that helps find the cure. And then also, as we go forward, we say, okay, what's the plan that we're going to use to address this problem? And what are the goals? And these are the things that we have to do, but a physical therapist cannot do it by themselves. They have to work at a team with physicians and other healthcare providers and with families and friends. And that's how you come to a favorable outcome. And that's what we have to do right here and now. Yes, we had a tragedy, and we must address it. While there was no loss of life during the terrible shooting activity that occurred at the Virginia Beach Oceanfront this weekend, our community is hurting with the continued violence. We sincerely hope for rapid healing and gentle recovery for those who experience bodily harm and injury. We share the community's frustration, and we will continue to do everything we can do as a city to enhance public safety, both reactive measures and new proactive measures. We have implemented enhanced safety protocols to include new curfew enforcement, advanced technology like ShotSpotter, and the Real-Time Crime Center, as well as increased presence at the Oceanfront, with the goal of enabling our residents and guests to enjoy our beautiful community has to offer with peace of mind. The curfew was effective, reducing crowds and overall risk, but unfortunately, it was not enough to prevent the weekend shooting. The curfew does not impact those young adults over 18. And far too many of those young adults are making irresponsible choice to bring firearms to our oceanfront and put lives in danger. We have to get the message out, and we need the tools to do it, to let people know if you bring an illegal firearm to Virginia Beach, you risk being arrested and incarcerated. City gun violence is a citywide issue, a community issue, regional issue, state issue, and it is a national issue. And together we must find solutions to this epidemic that is gripping our nation. We've seen recent incidents in Washington, D.C., Richmond, Newport News, Hampton, where large crowds of teens and young adults have heightened public safety challenges. And I always say, violence knows no borders, or boundaries. We must work with our fellow mayors and council members, with our colleagues in the General Assembly, and with community leaders to address this ongoing challenge. In addition to maximizing every resource at our disposal and leveraging every authority we currently provided by the Commonwealth, over the coming months, we must continue to work with our General Assembly delegation to improve and develop legislation to enhance the tools that we so desperately need to confront this situation. We know we're not alone in this fight, and we have many fruitful conversations with colleagues from around the Commonwealth, and will continue to build a coalition of localities in making the request to the General Assembly. And yes, we may have to do some tough love, but tough love is meant to save lives. Virginia Beach is one of the safest large cities in the United States. Our priorities continue to be the safety of our residents and visitors, community well-being, maintaining a friendly family environment at our oceanfront and in our neighborhoods. That is the goal that we aspire. And I just want to thank the public safety team for their efforts. But the other thing is, what are we going to do right now? And that is the question that is lingering among the public, and rightfully so. Tomorrow we will be meeting, and we will be meeting in closed session with our city attorney to find out what tools are currently available to us and what are maybe some best practices from other cities that we can incorporate and use effectively. And I'm also going to make a recommendation, to our members of the delegation as we try to really build that strong bond and bridge together. May I suggest, do a ride-along. Go along and ride with a police officer, one of our brave men and women at the oceanfront, and see what they confront, with the type of crowds and the duties and responsibility. And I think that would be enlightening in promoting the type of conversation we need to get to the answers that we need. And the other thing is, I think what we have to do immediately is put together a task force of stakeholders, from all varieties of our city, to come together and really start working on solutions. We don't have the luxury of time, to wait a year to study a problem that is an immediate threat to our citizenry right now. So once again, the time is now for us to act. And we must act together. We must build the bridges that we need with the various entities that will put this together. It's a national problem, It's a local problem. So let's get together and get this taken care of. And at this point, I'd like to introduce Chief Neudigate. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mayor.
Brilliant.
Thank you, Mayor. Members of council, thank you. All right, good afternoon, everyone. Unfortunately, it seems like we were just in front of you not too long ago with the same set of circumstances. But before I get started, please let me introduce my team. Deputy Chief Scott Wichendall, Deputy Chief Billy Zelms, Deputy Chief Jeff Wilkerson. We've got Captain Michelle Wyatt, who oversees the Detective Bureau, Lieutenant Flynn, who oversees our Violent Crimes Unit, and our homicide detectives in the room, all supporting this effort. So we know Saturday night at 9:50 p.m. We had a shooting involving 8 individuals in the 1400 block of Atlantic. And first, let me start by thanking the Virginia Beach police officers and the sheriff's deputies that were out there. They responded quickly, rendered aid, identified witnesses, suspects, recovered guns, everything that made it very possible to make those quick arrests and get that information out to the community and the media yesterday afternoon as quick as we could. So we know that yesterday we took into custody, actually Saturday night into Sunday morning, Miss Jemiah Williams, a female 18 from Henrico, who has been charged with multiple counts of aggravated assault, firearm commission of a felony, reckless handling of a firearm with injury, as well as open warrants. And right before I came in here, I was advised that the firearm that we recovered from Miss Williams was also used in 2 incidents up near Richmond as part of our NIBIN program. So we need to figure out what that is, but there could be additional charges on what that looks like. We had warrants for an outstanding individual that was Mr. Isaiah Charity, an 18-year-old from Richmond. It gives me a great privilege to announce that Mr. Charity turned himself in on his open warrants approximately an hour and a half ago. So he is no longer wanted, and the second individual is in custody. We do have a third shooter that we are looking for. He is an unidentified male black. The Detective Bureau is working diligently to identify him, and when we do, and there's no doubt that we will bring the appropriate charges, and we will hold all 3 shooters responsible for what occurred Saturday night. We know our victims are from Chesterfield, Lancaster, Richmond, Georgia, and the only local individual was from Portsmouth. So once again, I thank you to the VBPD officers that are out there every weekend. Thank you to the team. Thank you to the sheriff's deputies that support us. Thank you to the EMS, the fire, everyone, all of our public safety team. But I'd like to kind of go back in time and kind of talk about, where we got there. So we were upstaffed this weekend, and we have been upstaffed since early March. And historically, that is not something that we have had to do as a police department. Usually our upstaffing comes mid-April, towards the end of April, historically around week 17. We have not had to pull officers from other commands and move them down to the Oceanfront this early, but based on some of the things that occurred last year, based on incidents that are occurring around the nation in regards to spring break, the executive team said it's imperative that we pool personnel and we move them down there. So the staffing configuration and the amount of officers that you saw down there this weekend and really since the beginning of March is not by accident, but I will tell you, it's not based on intelligence. It's really just based on the weather right now, because we are monitoring the intelligence, but we are not seeing dedicated posts that we have seen in the past indicating that a lot of folks are coming to the beach. So what we saw this Saturday, well, Friday was very uneventful. Saturday we had a crowd of about 1,000 individuals that were out there. And talking to DC Zelm Saturday night, what I will tell you is that's about half of what we traditionally expect on a very warm spring summer night. So questions about the curfew, and we hear them from the community. Well, is it effective? Why are we continuing with the curfew? What I will tell you is historically, when we're dealing with 2,000 individuals walking up and down Atlantic, trying to break up those fights, disorder, those crowds, I think the curfew cut that in half for us. So it is a lot easier for our officers to manage 1,000 individuals than it is 2,000. So I can't speak out enough in support of what council has given us with the authority of the curfew, because it is definitely making our jobs easier. Now, we still have challenges, but it's definitely easier when we're not breaking up the large groups of individuals that are fighting, the assaults, the stampeding conditions that we have seen in years past. We have not seen that year to date. So I do want to thank the parents, the families, the guardians, the custodians that have heard our message, because for whatever reason, they heard it, they're complying. So thank you to the families and everyone for keeping your unattended minors away from the oceanfront and contributing to the problem that we have. So Saturday, Deputy Chief Zellens was down there, did an outstanding job. We started seeing crowd conditions where we have historically, you've all seen the videos, in the DQ lot, in the 17th Street Park. We were able to disperse that, take the park and the DQ lot back, manage the traffic conditions. And I will tell you, the DC talked to me on the phone, and he said, for a warm Saturday night, this is about as best as it gets. We are not having fights. We are not responding to gun runs. Matter of fact, for Friday and Saturday, for both days, we only responded to 52 911 calls in our resort area. And except for the shooting, most of those were low-level calls. So let's talk about the incident. We're managing the crowd. It's dissipating. We're not anticipating any major issues. And at approximately 9:50 p.m., we have two groups walking in opposite directions on Atlantic. And we have video of this. From the initial approach to punches being thrown to guns being pulled and shots fired between the two groups, ladies and gentlemen, 12 seconds. So your VBPD, your public safety team, does a fantastic job. I'm incredibly proud of our men and women and the work that they do every day and every weekend. And one of their goals down there, what we task them with, is breaking up those fights, those conflicts, separating those folks where it looks like we're going to have problems. But I think you can all agree, no one out there can de-escalate a conflict that goes from approach to gunfire in 12 seconds. So our officers immediately responded, secured the scene, like I mentioned, rendered aid, identified witnesses, suspects, recovered the firearms, which led to the two arrests. And we just need the media's help. We need the community's help. Somebody knows who the third individual was, and they need to be held accountable. So we're looking at the media to help us send the message to our community. Call us. Give us any additional video, the tips, crime solvers, whatever it may be. We need that information so that we can hold everyone that had a piece of this accountable. So I'd like to provide some context because we hear the community concerns, we hear the complaints, the questions from the community about staffing. So let me tell you, Saturday night when this went down, we had approximately 90 plus officers and or sheriff's deputies that were concentrating on less than about a 10-block radius. I had more officers protecting the oceanfront and those 10 blocks than we had protecting the rest of the city of 247 miles. So we have to put that into perspective. The oceanfront is incredibly important to us. It is one of our economic engines, but we do have an entire city to protect. So I will tell you, I'm incredibly thankful to our officers because when we upstaff, it doesn't come without cost. It means that other communities and other precincts and other districts in our city are giving up personnel to go down to the oceanfront and manage these conditions. It means that we're asking our officers to cancel off days, personal time with their families, come in and upstaff what we need at the oceanfront to provide that visibility and safety. And why that's incredibly important, while they're dealing with 8 individuals shot in a shooting at the oceanfront out in the 4th precinct, they're dealing with 200 to 300 teens and young adults that came out of the Nova Adventure Park and were fighting, mention of guns, took a large police response from outlying resources not dedicated to the oceanfront to go manage that incident. You know, folks, we're a large city, and we do have large city problems that we need to manage. And I will tell you that this is incredibly challenging for a department that is 87 officers short, that is almost an entire precinct. So we are really, when you say doing more with less, that's where we are. And we just have to remember that at some point this is not sustainable. We do worry about officer fatigue and burnout. And I will tell you that, it's not just sheer police visibility, right? We've had shootings at the oceanfront, unfortunately, when we've had 30 officers down there, and we've had 300 officers down there. So once again, what I will tell you is, it is not just sheer police visibility that will solve this. It is a deterrence for all, it's a deterrence for some, but not all. It did not deter, 90 officers down there did not deter 2 18-year-olds from pulling guns and engaging in a shootout. So, I'd like to, and I should stay away from social media, but many of us, we follow to get the tenor of the community and see what the feedback on the department is and what occurred. And I will just read this one that I don't even remember where I found it, but it says, if you were to see the police presence, you would think somebody would be crazy to do something. They're on horses, they're on foot, they're on electric scooters, they're on electric bikes, they're in vehicles, they're everywhere. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is not a matter of police visibility, it's a societal issue. And I would offer that these 2 individuals, or actually 3, they didn't come to our oceanfront to enjoy the beach. They didn't come to shop at the stores. They didn't come to eat at the restaurants. They came armed, looking for conflict, unfortunately, and they walked up and down Atlantic until they found it. So I'd like to thank the mayor and council. I know the mayor mentioned it. They have done everything as an elected body that this police department has asked for. They have provided funding for technology, the shot spotter activation that told us exactly where the shots were when our officers heard it, moved them right to 1400 Atlantic. We don't have to wait on a 911 call. We moved right to the gunfire, confirmed where it was, the real-time crime center, our camera network that is down there that caught the incident, that allowed us to make the quick arrest. That's not free, and we thank council for their efforts. We thank them for their continued funding and recruiting to try to close, the 86, 87 vacancies that we have. And we thank them for being courageous enough to take a bold step and implement the imminent threat curfew, something that has not been done, I believe, in the Commonwealth, that we're the first to take this. And I thank all of you for taking that courageous step because the curfew is having a positive impact on us. And we have decreased crowds, fewer youth, fewer fights currently, and we're not seeing the takeover and the knocking over of barricades when we have 400 or 500 young men and women that are running from what they believe are sounds of gunfire. So, for the future, I would just ask that and remind our community that your police department is just one part of the criminal justice system. I've heard some comments and my phone has rang and, they're asking about, bonds for individuals that are involved in these crimes. They're asking about jail time that they receive, early release. I'd just like to remind the community that that is not your police department. There are other parts of the criminal justice system that oversee all of that, but their voice matters. And those parts of the criminal justice system need to hear their voices, and they need to speak out and let the courts know, let our magistrates know when we're dealing with these types of issues. The General Assembly, like the mayor mentioned, we have asked for additional tools. We're doing the best with the legal tools that we have right now. I would ask the community to please reach out to your delegates, your senators, and express that your VBPD is asking for help. And we hope that they will hear that request next session and provide us the tools and assistance that we need to manage the risk that we have at the Oceanfront. And like the mayor mentioned, there will be additional conversations come tomorrow on what we can continue to do. The police department, with the guidance and oversight from the manager and the elected council that stands behind me, that fully supports this police department, and we will continue to do our best efforts. And we are looking at everything that we can do to make sure that we have no more large-scale incidents, but I think we're going to need the support of the General Assembly, because when we talk about looking at best practices from other cities and other cities that have managed to rein this in, they had the independent authority to enact their own legislation and make some hard challenges on citywide curfews and what that looks like. And those will be some further hard conversations. But I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Chief. We will now open the floor to questions pertaining to this incident. In order to make sure that we hear from as many voices as possible, we are going to allow you 3 questions per outlet. And what I ask you to do, I'm going to utilize our list that I had you sign on, and some of you have outstanding handwriting. Others of you do not. So what I'm going to ask you to do is, once I call on you and I do the best I can, if you would say your name and the outlet that you represent, and then give us your question. And I'm going to start with Derek Little from 13 News Now.
Yeah, the question's for Chief with 13 News Now. I uprooted my family and brought my future wife here to the Oceanfront to put down roots and raise a family eventually. Her question yesterday as we were walking the Oceanfront is, will we be safe to raise our first child here and stay here? For those people in our community that are asking those questions, social media, I'm sure
Yes.
you know, what's your response as we try to move forward from this?
Absolutely. This is a safe city. We cannot let singular incidents, no matter the magnitude, affect the perception of peace and safety here. And what we pledge is that we're going to find a way to continue to mitigate that, because it's incredibly, I can tout the numbers. The numbers are, hey, we're incredibly safe compared to other large cities. Crime is at a 5-year low, but that really doesn't mean anything if our community doesn't feel safe, and we're aware of that.
Moving on top of that, moving from the 2025 tragedy and dealing with those numbers that you addressed in the budget request, how do we attract future great officers here, and how do you guys close that gap?
What we're seeing, what I'm seeing, what other large departments are seeing, it's not just trying to attract them to VBPD. We have great regional partners with our police departments here. And unfortunately, what we find ourselves is, stealing from each other. Where we can really use the assistance. It's not whether Virginia Beach Police Department has more benefits and pay, or Chesapeake's a better police department. It's the overall perception of the profession of policing. And we are still rebounding from the threats of, defunding from where we were in 2020. So positive stories showing the great work of the men and women of the policing profession, continuing to move that. I want to get political, but I will tell you that, just the talk of taking away qualified immunity that came up with this last General Assembly had people coming talking about leaving this police department in droves, and folks that were in the recruiting process, hey, if that happens, I don't want to be part of the profession. They're not looking to be penalized for a mistake that one may make. And none of us are perfect. These men and women make split-second decisions, and they have to be fully supported when they do. So that's what we can do, Derek.
I think my final question is just assurances for people that live in other parts of Virginia Beach as we increase our efforts at the Oceanfront. How can we assure them of their safety when something happens in their part of the community?
And that is the balancing act. But you know, the reality is unpleasant, but I think it's incredibly important to be transparent with the community that, you know, the cries for more police at the oceanfront and a cop on every corner comes at a cost, and that comes to the other communities that reside in the city of Virginia Beach.
Thank you, Derek. Okay, Coulter from WTKR.
Chief, thank you. First question, the young woman who's been arrested, do you know, was she here vacation? Did she just come down for the day?
Don't know.
What are you guys doing to keep people safe next week when we have stars, stripes, and spurs? That's obviously a big event.
Yes.
The oceanfront, sure. You know, safety is top of mind for a lot of people right now. What are you guys doing when that event happens?
You know, for that known pre-planned event, and historically week 17 has been very challenging and problematic for us. So we had 90 officers on a weekend where we had no known intelligence or historical issues. For that weekend, I think we are looking at, for Saturday night alone, the numbers I saw, up to 266 officers will be out in the oceanfront this coming weekend. And you know, we can't do it. You know, I got to mention to the sheriff and all of our different partners that help us, because that is an incredible draw, and we still have to protect the rest of this great city. So we will have a very robust police presence down there. That is one for VSP. We'll also be augmenting some of our traffic efforts for this known historical challenging weekend.
And both you and the mayor mentioned you'd like to see some help from the state legislators. Can you guys elaborate on that? What specifically would you like to see?
Well, I'll tell you what, we made a request for the pop-up events, and you know, unfortunately it got tabled. And I think that if we really enhance and embolden our communication between us, you know, and they understand the problems that the localities are confronting, I think they might be more open, because we're not making this in a vacuum. And once again, as Chief said, we had you know, a number of years ago when they were talking about defunding the police and qualified immunity, they also removed some of the tools that police were able to use. And, you know, once again, law enforcement is a challenge. And, but once again, you know, the balance between enforcing the law and not, infringing on people's rights. But what it really comes down to, what I was talking about with tough love, you know, we're talking about we got to do what's necessary to save lives. And we'd like the, you know, the General Assembly to be our partners. And if we have to go to the Congress and the Senate in the United States, we got to change the culture. We have to get back to a nation that respects laws, and that's going to be mission one.
Thank you, Coulter. John Doucette, WHRO.
Mayor, I'll start with you, but I'd like the chief to address this, if you will. You talked about the pop-up legislation, had that passed the General Assembly, would have gone into effect until July. So if it does go forward next year, you're looking at next summer before that thing's online. So what are you going to do now to get to this season and prepare?
Well, you know, that's John, that's one of my motivations about asking our General Assembly to do a ride-along, to see the immediacy and the urgency of doing something now. And that was also my recommendation, is that we do a task force of stakeholders, which includes the General Assembly and maybe some national folks, but also the community. We have a very robust, you know, faith-based community in here in the city of Virginia Beach. And once again, like I said, we don't have the luxury of waiting a year. We have to start, planting the seeds now. So when the General Assembly goes into session next year, we're ready to move with a positive message.
And John, as the mayor mentioned earlier, tomorrow at the closed session, we want to discuss the city council different options that are currently available to us. These aren't the best options because the impacts of what other enforcement opportunities would have a more far wide range and impact to businesses and residents as well. So there are other options that we'll bring to the city council for discussion, and depending on council action, we may be able to bring forth other tools to help address this issue.
Mr. Haney, can I follow up on that? So what are you looking at doing this? Is this going to be something that you vote on?
We'll brief city council tomorrow, and then we'll, based on the council discussion, we'll determine the time frame on taking any action on any possible options to enhance our enforcement efforts.
But you want to discuss
What's that, sir?
You want to discuss what those are?
Not at this time. I got to talk to the council about it, and then after that, we'll bring it forward. But any action would have to take a public vote of the council, and then we'll make that information available at this time. But we do intend to discuss it with the council because we all take this very seriously, and we'll hope to bring something forward for consideration. Chief, I don't know if you want to add anything.
John, do you have one more? Okay, thank you. Stacy Parker, the Virginian pilot.
How are the injured doing?
Thank you, Stacy. All non-life threatening, one that was critical, but we believe that they are stable currently.
Okay. And then you mentioned about Dana Williams's gun may have been used previously to extinguish that incident?
At least two other incidents that we have a correlation from the ATF's National Integrated Ballistic Information Network. We need to delve in where those actually occurred and what those offenses are. But it just goes back to, we talk about the community guns and the history of these crime guns, and here is one that is used in a mass shooting in Virginia Beach that's been used in other offenses, at least preliminarily, based on our NIBIN results.
Okay. And my last question is, will you charge the 17-year-old for curfew violation?
We've already done that. Yes.
Thank you, Stacy. Markeisha Jackson from Wavy.
Hello.
No, first things first, we talked about the manpower that's at the Oceanfront on weekends dealing with this. And then you mentioned the Nova Adventure Park incident, and both of these incidents involved a large amount of young people.
Yes.
What would you both say to the youth, people in this age range that seem to be finding themselves in these situations time and time again?
Well, one, once again want to thank the guardians and the parents from Virginia Beach, because I think what we're seeing in our experience is they have heeded the call to action and kept their young men and women from being out in these locations. So if we can spread that message beyond the beach, we greatly appreciate the media's efforts in doing that.
And if I can say, the thing is, we have to get the guns away from youth. And, right now we have, it's a culture, it's a way of doing things, it's a new generation. Back in the day, there used to be fist fights, and then maybe folks would become friends. But nowadays, the immediate thing to do is use a firearm. This is a culture that we have to change. We have to use faith-based. We got to get the parents involved. We got to get society involved. But most of all, we have to get the tools that we need for the police to identify the people that are carrying the guns and preemptively get them away before a terrible accident happens.
Absolutely, and I know we talked about wanting to work with the General Assembly and things like that. Are you all hopeful that the General Assembly will take a closer look at the certain gun laws that impact public areas and things like that? And also along with that, do you want them to take a look at, just like you said, those ride-alongs, what the officers are going through? In what way do you want that help from the General Assembly?
Well, I'll tell you what, I think it would benefit, don't forget, these are, all the mayors in the 757 are collaborating. We're working on this together. We had the city managers get together and come up with best practices. We had the police chiefs working. As I indicated, crime does not honor a boundary. And but once again, this is not only for Virginia Beach. This is for all the cities in the 757 and all the cities. Every city in this Commonwealth are facing similar problems. And I think we have to get together collectively, agree, like I said in the beginning, what is the problem? What caused it? What are we going to do to fix it?
Markeisha, you have our last question of the day, if you have it. Gotcha, yep. Lastly, just for one more time, just who's going to be in that room tomorrow at this meeting?
Okay, once again, we're going to be with the city manager, council members, and but also our city attorney. You know, once again, we can't become a nation of laws if we're going to be breaking them or, you know, usurping them in any way. We want to find out what's going on, what are some of the best practices that home rule states are using. Once again, we're with the Dillon rule. And so once again, we have to be compliant to what the General Assembly says. Other states, you know, can make immediate decisions. But once again, you know, we have to play with the cards that are dealt with. But once again, we're going to do what we can to get the tools that we need to do the job that we need to do.
Well, this concludes today's briefing. I just want to let you know that updates as they become available will be made available on our social media as well as our site. So thank you for coming, and I'll let you get back to getting the story in. All right, thank you.
Okay, back here in the studio following that press conference between Police Chief Paul Neudigate out of Virginia Beach and Virginia Beach Mayor Bobby Dyer, and they were accompanied by a number of city leaders who stood up at the podium with them as they addressed the shooting on Saturday night at the Oceanfront. Again, a shooting that injured 8 people, though there were no fatalities in that shooting. Now we continue our special report just with a summarization of what we heard during that press conference. First, new information on suspects. Isaiah Charity has turned himself into police. Sounded like right around 2:40 p.m. Isaiah Charity was one of the suspects police were searching for following that shooting. He has turned himself into police around 2:40 p.m. Now, there is a third suspect who is still at large, who police are still searching for. A third suspect remains at large, and police urging those in the community to help, if possible, in identifying that third suspect. Now, police have described that suspect as a black male who is wearing a hoodie. So the search continues for who was wearing a hoodie in that incident. So the search continues for that third suspect, a dark-colored hoodie with possible red lettering on the back. However, Isaiah Charity has turned himself in around 2:40 p.m. Now, Jemiah Williams had already been apprehended by police going into today. We have reported that she has admitted to firing shots during the incident. We also heard from Police Chief Neudigate during that press conference that the gun that was fired by Jemiah Williams has in fact been linked to other incidents up in Richmond. The firearm that was recovered from Jemiah Williams has been linked to incidents up in Richmond. At least that is some intel that they are receiving. So that is the update on suspects at this time. In terms of the incident itself, we did learn that police do have video of the incident. We also got information that there was an initial approach, punches thrown, guns pulled, and shots fired. From the time of the initial approach to the time of shots fired, 12 seconds elapsed. 12 seconds between the two groups approaching each other and shots being fired, and there were also punches thrown during that incident. Now, for more context, on Saturday night, Chief Neudigate said there were approximately 90-plus officers or sheriff's deputies concentrating on a less than 10-block radius. He said they had more officers protecting the oceanfront than protecting the rest of the city. He said that their department is currently 87 officers short. They're doing more with less, and he did include that at some point this is not sustainable. But for the time being, 90-plus officers at the oceanfront on Saturday night. Now, we've talked about how after the shooting at the Oceanfront in early March, there was a curfew implemented. Chief Neudigate said he believes that curfew is working. He believes, as he said in this press conference, that curfew may have cut the crowd in half on Saturday night for police to patrol. He said that they have staffed up already at the Oceanfront and that is unusual. Historically, that's not something they would do this early, but they have already staffed up at the Oceanfront in preparation for incidents like this. He said things that happened last year and incidents around the nation in regards to spring break have made it imperative that we pull and move officers down to the Oceanfront. So on Saturday night, they were staffed up with more officers at the Oceanfront than patrolling the rest of the city. Now, let me make sure I have all the updates that you need to hear while going over my notes. So there will be a meeting tomorrow in a closed session with the city council and the city attorney to try to find out what tools are available to try to find solutions to this problem. So again, a closed session meeting tomorrow involving the city attorney to try to find out some solutions. What is available as a possible solution to this problem? As for Mayor Bobby Dyer, he spoke about a world on fire, a world where anger, hatred, and violence, disregard of life and laws has become the new norm. He stated that our community is hurting with continued violence and has called this a national problem in addition to a local problem, and repeatedly stated the need to act together. He spoke about other cities and the need to have communication and teamwork in order to solve this problem. I want to make sure that you have all the information that you need. I know many of you just watched the entirety of that press conference, but just in case anyone got there late, 266 officers will be out at the Oceanfront this weekend. That was the update from Chief Neudigate. So, these also said that police visibility alone will not solve this, that they have seen shootings with 30 officers and shootings with 300 officers. So there are other things needed, and those are some of the things Bobby Dyer spoke about and that may come from the meeting tomorrow. All right, that'll do it for our special report here on 13 News Now. You see the forum that we're in is not typical for our 4, 5, and 6 newscasts. We carried live impact news into this special report, and every day from 10 a.m. to noon and 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. we have live impact news available on 13 News Now Plus. If you want to see more delivery from this format, please tune in anytime. For now, I'm Connor Reel. For my producer, Nia Campbell, we've appreciated you joining us for this special report. We will be back on 13 News Now at 4 o'clock p.m. with your regularly scheduled broadcast. Thanks for joining, everybody.